All righty, we'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Patrice Lazard, Freedmen Heirs Foundation Project Manager, and I want to take this moment to welcome you all to today's webinar session titled Getting to Know Your Partners in Conservation, the Best Kept Secret. Before we get started, we're going to go over some webinar housekeeping. So this webinar is being recorded and it will be posted on the Freedmen Heirs Foundation website and YouTube channel for those of you that have to leave the session early, and also for those registrants that registered but weren't able to join us this afternoon. As a reminder, attendees' cameras are off and microphones are muted. The chat and Q&A functions are enabled. And we ask that if anyone has any questions that you please ask those questions using the Q&A function, and all questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. All right, so this is just a little bit of background about our organization. So Freedmen Heirs Foundation is a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting Black farmers in the United States by providing them with access to technical assistance, financial resources, and marketing opportunities. We have a lot of great things going on at our organization. So I invite you all to join us follow us on social media, using the hashtags below. We also ask that you please visit our website, www.freedmenheirs.org, to subscribe to our digital magazine where we have several resources and important information that goes out monthly to all of our subscribers. You can also follow us along to be updated about all Freedmen Heirs news, information, and resources. Now, before we begin, I want to take this opportunity to introduce our guest speakers, Dr. Loutrina Staley and Mr. Michael Watson. So, Dr. Loutrina Staley is a plant and soil scientist and serves as the Equity and Outreach Program Analyst for the National Association of Conservation Districts, where she is responsible for overseeing program, project, and partnership development with the goals of improving equity, access, and inclusivity. Before NACD, Dr. Staley worked as a soil scientist and director of diversity, equity, and inclusion with the Soil Health Institute. Dr. Staley received her Bachelor's of Science degree in horticultural science from Andrews University, her Master's of Science in Plant and Soil Science from Tuskegee University, and her PhD in Plant and Soil Science with an emphasis on food safety from Alabama A&M University. Dr. Staley resides in Huntsville, Alabama, where she farms 4 acres of market vegetables and medicinal herbs and co-runs a literacy camp themed around farm life for at-risk youth. Mr. Michael Watson is a natural resource specialist with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS, located in Washington, D.C. Michael has served as Assistant State Conservationist for Field Operations in Georgia. Prior to his service with the Georgia NRCS, Michael served as Acting Assistant State Conservationist for Management and Strategy in North Carolina, Acting Assistant State Conservationist for Operations, and Acting State Administrative Officer in Georgia, and as an Acting State Conservationist in New Hampshire, among many other distinguished roles within the agency. Michael has extensive experience working with landowners, farmers, conservation districts, and core partners across the country, and brings a wealth of practical knowledge and insight as a sought-after public speaker. An engineer by education and training, Michael holds a Bachelor of Science degree in civil engineering from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. Michael currently lives in Georgia and has a cow-calf operation. He also has a U-Pick muscadine grape vineyard. Without further ado, please help me welcome our two esteemed panelists to this presentation. Dr. Staley and Mr. Watson, you now have the floor and you can start sharing your screen with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me get this going here. Alrighty, just want to make sure you all can see my screen here. Okay, great. Okay. Well, I want to say thank you all for having us. We're really excited to be here. And we'll go ahead and get started. So the title of our presentation is Getting to Know Your Partners in Conservation. And we want to just talk a little bit about the history. So I represent the National Association of Conservation Districts. And we represent about 3,000 plus conservation, soil and water conservation districts all over the United States. And our job is to get conservation on the ground. And Mike, I'll turn it over to you and you can tell them about NRCS.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Staley. First of all, I want to, speaking for Dr. Staley, I want to thank Freedmen Heirs Foundation and Patrice Lassard for having us on and providing this opportunity to speak to you. I think it's a great opportunity for us to learn a little bit about what you're doing, but also for you to learn a little bit about what NRCS and the National Association of Conservation Districts do. When I say NRCS, I'm talking about the Natural Resource Conservation Service, and you'll hear me say acronyms. And sometimes as federal employees, we talk in languages that you may not understand. So if I say something in an acronym, I'm gonna try to back up and re-speak it and understand what we're saying. So the Natural Resource Conservation Service is NRCS. NACD is the National Association of Conservation Districts. NRCS was founded as the Soil Conservation Service several years ago and was changed and named in the 1990s from the Soil Conservation Service to the Natural Resource Conservation Service. And what we do is, in both of our agencies, we're sister agencies, we provide technical assistance such as engineering, surveying, planning, agronomy, forestry, biology, wildlife habitat to everyone across the nation. And we have an office in every county in the nation, not an office. We provide services to every county in the nation. And we want to work with each and every single one of you. And I really appreciate your time. And I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Staley because I think I overstepped my time. And I want to make sure that I'm always giving her the opportunity because she's one of the greatest speakers you guys could ever hear. Dr. Staley.
Thank you so much. So as Mr. Watson said, that we are sister agencies. We were instituted around the same time, and we call ourselves the right hand of conservation. So normally when you go into a USDA office, and I might be getting ahead of myself, but we're the first people that you actually encounter. Our job is to make sure that we do outreach and we get out there and we meet producers and find out what the needs are, bring them kind of into the fold, and we offer conservation planning and various other services. But we work hand in hand with NRCS. So I want to talk a little bit about our mission. The mission of NACD, or any soil and water conservation district, is we promote responsible management and conservation of natural resources on all lands by representing locally led conservation districts and their association through grassroots advocacy, education, and partnerships. And we value grassroots, right? Because we know that finding out what the needs are, everything starts at the very foundation, the grassroots, and it comes up, and we are able to provide various services and all of that to all producers. We were established in 1946. And again, as I said before, we have a nearly 3,000 plus conservation districts all over the US. And we are a member-driven organization. So we have districts, we have boards and all of that. So it's really exciting. I'm just so excited to be here to talk to you a little bit about this. They say we're the best kept secret, which is a secret is not a good thing, right? Because we want to make sure that we're getting out there and letting producers know about our organizations and what we do. I would say that we're definitely trying to do a better job. We haven't always done a good job with that in the past, but now we just want to make sure that we're getting the word out and let all producers know about what we offer. So I want to talk a little bit about, how does it look at the local level? Like both Mike and I, we work at the national offices. And so, but of course, like you said, we're about that grassroots work. And so on a local level, what does that look like? Well, the soil and water conservation districts provide basically an introduction to a lot of the agricultural partners, not just USDA like NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Service, or Farm Service Agency, FSA, or even the Forest Service, but also agricultural extension, as well as other soil and water conservation districts, and even we have so many partners of ag out there that are doing this work. And so we make sure that we're connecting you to those people that are going to help you to, get your operation to where you need it to be and provide those resources and initiatives to get you where you need to be. We also offer conservation planning as well. And I was going to kind of turn that over to Mike and let him talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Conservation planning. Well, first thing, when we get out to talk to you about conservation planning, what is that? That's your farm, your resource concerns. What is a resource concern? Resource concern could be water. It could be that you don't have adequate water on your farm, that you may have erosion or gullies on your farm, that you may not have enough water for your cattle, or water where you need the water at on your farm. So when we do a conservation plan, we're listening to you. So when you go out to your farm, or you invite us out to your farm, and you invite us out there, we're listening to you. And we're listening to some of the issues that you have. If you have weed problems, if you have privet hedge on your property, Johnson grass, different kinds of weeds or insects or resource concerns that's affecting your farm, we're listening, and that's where that plan starts to kick in. Okay. If you have wild hogs on your property, okay, wild swine, we will try to set up a plan to try to reduce, eradicate, or help you with that, because that's a resource concern. If those animals, if those pests are eating or destroying your property and crops, it becomes a resource concerns for us. But I want to also say this one up front. Okay. NRCS is interested in conservation, soil erosion, water erosion, saving water, saving plants, saving certain kinds of wildlife. Okay. You have to encompass that into your operation. We're going to work with you. So as we're working on a conservation plan and bringing expertise and bringing technical assistance out there to do a whole farm plan for you, that's what we're working with. So we're listening to you. And the more you talk, the more we learn about what's going on in your property. Don't assume that we know your property. It's up to you to tell us what's going on and help us. So with that, that's a little bit about what our conservation plans are and how it works and how we work with you, whether it's a small farm or large farm. We work with everyone, and we're trying to do a better job at that. And you'll hear us say that several times during this meeting. Back to you, Dr. Staley.
As I mentioned before, that we are the first point of contact for producers. So when you come into a USDA agency or USDA off-service center, they're located all over the U.S. You're going to have Soil and Water Conservation District. You're going to have your NRCS, FSA, rural development, all of those offices there. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about just navigating through those offices and what to expect. So when you come in, they have a conservation district manager. They actually are the overall leadership and management for that conservation district. Some states have DMs or as administrative assistants, so you might see some of the titles kind of just interchanged. You have the conservation district clerk, and I have an asterisk by that name because that is the person that knows all of the happenings, that know what's going on in the office, know about all the programs, the resources, initiatives, they know it all. So definitely when you come into that office, you definitely want to become friends with that conservation district clerk. And conservation district technician, they're in charge of a lot of the field work and programming that goes out in the field and conservation planning. And then your conservation education specialist, who develop like educational opportunities or educational programs for producers, for schools, for various entities. And this is not exhaustive. There are a lot of other, it's kind of different from office to office, or I say from district to district, where there might be different positions there, or they might have different titles, but mainly these are the four that you definitely want to be, especially the conservation district clerk. And I say this because, you know, there are reports of, you know, people going in various offices, and that could be not just for the soil and water conservation districts, for USDA, however, and it's just so important to know who the people are in the office and what their responsibilities are, especially when you're just helping you to kind of navigate if you're trying to get, you know, some paperwork filled out and get something done. It's just always great to know who the people are in that office. So next we want to talk a little about district board. So we talked about the soil and water conservation districts. We talked about what we do. Our job is to get conservation on the ground. We work really closely with NRCS and making sure that programming happens. But also you got to think about, okay, they're talking about programming and all of this, but what does that mean? So each of these conservation districts have a district board, right, who makes a lot of decisions. So so let's say you come into the office and you know, fill out the paperwork and you get involved with your soil and water conservation district. Those concerns that you have, the resource concerns, maybe the ideas that you have, right? We want to hear those ideas. We want to understand what your concerns are, because the district boards is where a lot of decisions happen as far as what resources are going to be available, what initiatives, what programming, you know, what information is going to be kind of pushed up to, I guess, how can I say, what NRCS or the state technical committee. That's where a lot of the magic happens, is on those district boards. And so we have district boards that we have officials that are elected or they're appointed. And the elected officials and the appointed ones play a crucial role in just setting the direction, the policies, and the priorities for that district. I don't know, Mike, I'll pass it over to you if you want to add something to that.
I do want to jump in on that one, because that's really important what Dr. Staley's saying, because, you know, you may go in and have a resource concern on forestry, and that district board they may make that a low priority for that board. So because it's a low priority for that board, for that district, for that region, forestry may not be included in some of our cost share events. So that's one of the reasons why it's really important to make sure that you're active, that you're working with the district boards. And we're going to talk a little bit about other groups that you need to work with, but just really wanted to bring that out and bring to everybody's attention that it's not one size fits all for every county, for every state. You know, it could be totally different side by side counties. And I think that's really important, that you have to get involved. You have to show that you have a concern, and this is something that needs to be addressed. It may not happen that year. It might be 2 years. It might be 3 years, but it will happen the more people voice their concerns and voice what's needed. And that's it, Dr. Staley.
It's definitely important. If you know, we're going to talk a little bit later just about, you know, it's so important about all of us being at the table and being able to help make those decisions. Those decisions drive what comes down the pipeline as far as, you know, having, you know, what we need in order to have a profitable operation, right? Because we want to make sure that we're not only getting conservation on the ground, but that we want everything to be equitable so that everybody can play on a level playing field, and everybody's prosperous and get what they need. And so that's really important. So definitely you will see when you get involved with the Conservation District, they will have sometimes things posted as far as being a part of a board. They have board seats, and whenever a board seat is available, we are always looking to make sure that we have people that have been involved with the district that would be we want to want to either run or like I said, they're elected or appointed. And we want to always make sure that we have a pool of people who are interested in being a part of a board. And even if you can't get on the board right then, being as far as volunteering and being involved with the Conservation District is really going to make a big difference. So again, the district board process serve as representatives. Like I said, there's a local community, and they're entrusting to basically how the daily activities go on in that conservation district. Their primary responsibilities include setting policies, as I mentioned before, making decisions and providing oversight to advance conservation efforts within that district. Those board members collaborate with district staff, landowners, community stakeholders, governing agencies to promote effective conservation practices and programs. So that's why we're talking about it's so important to be a part of that conversation. They allocate resources, establish budgets, make funding decisions to support district initiatives. And they also may advocate for conservation policies at the local or the state or federal levels. So I hope you all are seeing kind of the picture that we're painting here of how important it is to get involved. Go ahead, Mike.
No, when you serve on a district board, it's usually for a 2-year to 4-year term. And if you're an elected official, you have to go through the election process. Every state's a little different, 2 years or 4 years, depending on how long the state says that you could be on the board. And with that, even if you don't get on the board, just going to the meetings, listen, having a seat at the table, making sure that you're able to have those conversations, because you may not be a board member, but you'll be surprised how just by going, people start asking you questions. And as you start responding and listening, they want to bring you in because they want your insight and they want to know what you know. So that's one of the things I want to suggest.
Very true. We definitely want everyone's insight. That makes this work that we're doing more robust. Okay. So again, I said they have district officials are elected or appointed. And so the election process, I want to talk a little bit about that. The Conservation District Board members are typically elected by local landowners or registered voters within that district. The election process varies from state to state, as Mr. Watson mentioned. Some states may require candidates to gather signatures or file candidacy forms to appear on the ballot, while others may conduct elections through mail-in or in-person voting. And those elections are maybe held annually or biannually or at longer intervals. It depends on the state statutes. Conservation District Board usually consists of 5 elected members. This is a little bit about the board composition, though the number can vary from state to state. Specific board positions may be designated from representation from different geographic areas within that district. And the board members may serve staggered terms to ensure continuity in the availability of experienced individuals. So that kind of gives you an idea. I think, I've talked to various people about being a part of a district board, and I think sometimes it could be a little intimidating, especially when you talk about having to run for a board seat. But honestly, we have we provide the assistance there to help you to get you ready, right? But right now we're needing people to just kind of start getting involved. I think once you get involved and you get acclimated to your district, it definitely makes things a little more seamless as far as, trying to, get ready to possibly serve on a board, whether you're appointed or elected. Okay. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about local work groups. I think I'm going to actually pass this over to Mike.
I'll pass that over to me. Hey, I want to back up for a little bit real quick before we start talking about local work group.
Okay.
If you're interested, district board meetings are announced online. You could call to your local field office and just the name of your county, soil and water conservation district, or resource conservation district. And you can call and ask them, when is their meeting? What time is their meeting? It's a public meeting and it's open to everyone. So I want to make sure to say that to you before I go too far down the road and not speak on that one. But the board meetings are open to everyone. So with that, hey, real quick, we're going to move for any. Do we have any questions or anything before I get, because this is interactive and we want you to be involved, and I don't want to leave anybody out, or if there's any pertinent questions that we need to ask before we get too far. I know we said that we're going to wait, but, and I don't follow rules. So Dr. Staley is usually pretty good with keeping me following rules. Okay. Your local work group. The local work group is under the United States Department of Agriculture, federal government farm bill. We are supposed to meet yearly. Okay. And when I say we, this is NRCS is supposed to put out to our partners, and it's usually the conservation districts who go about having a local work group meeting yearly. And what that local work group meeting is probably the most important thing that you could ever go to, because it sets the tone for the next year. So like we're starting to have local work group meetings as we speak right now. And those local work group meetings, you go to them and they will talk about some of the resource concerns of the county. And they may talk about forestry, they may talk about erosion, they may talk about nutrient from animals, poultry operation, but they may not mention high tunnels, okay? Or they may not mention it. That's because if nobody brings it up and says this is really important, it gets left out, okay? It's not because they don't care. The people who are coming to those meetings, and believe me, some of them are very robust and have 100 people or more, but they're coming there to talk about what's concerns on their property. So this dictates what goes on in our operation as far as in that county, in that NRCS district field office for the next year. And it's very important to be there at that local work group meeting and express your concerns and get your vote, get your say, have your say. The local work group meetings are open to the public. They usually announce them. Once again, they announce them, but I'm not going to sit here and try to act like, we're putting in the Wall Street Journal or we're putting it in some great magazine that you may or may not be looking at. A lot of times it's in the Soil and Water District newsletter, or it's on an NRCS website, or it's on some place that may be obscure. So that's why I want to get the word out, because what I don't want to do is leave you out. That's once again, call your local field office, ask them, say, hey, had some guy who I don't remember his name, but he told me that we need to be involved in local work group meetings, and I'd like to attend your local work group meeting. And they should be able to give you a date. They should be able to give you a time. If they don't know, what they should be able to say is, can we get your name and number and give you a call whenever we get it? Can we get your email address? Or you can look on our website at this point. If somebody tells you that you cannot attend, or you cannot, whether you own land or do not land, you can still attend it. This is an open meeting. If somebody tells you something different than that, they're wrong. Please call their supervisor. I said it. Don't take no for an answer. Please attend. Please be involved. You'll be surprised how much you'll learn just listening. The Farm Bill dictates that we have these meetings, and every 5 years we have a new Farm Bill. And right now, the Congress is getting ready to pass a new Farm Bill. These are things that affects you at your farm and at your local level. So that's really important for us to make sure we attend these local work groups and be active in them and have your say. Dr. Staley, did I miss anything on this?
Not at all. And I just wanted to say that, sometimes you might find it on the Conservation District's Facebook page or social media platform. So, we're trying to do a better job with our processes, right? We're trying to make sure that, again, we're getting the word out to everyone. But we're going to have you all to kind of do a little looking and searching too. The information is out there. And like Mike said, if you call and you contact and you're saying that you can't attend, letting you know that's not true. You can definitely contact their supervisor, or you can even send us an email and just let us know if you're having any issues or any problems at all. But it is open to the public. So it's just so important, because that's where a lot of the decisions are made, because the information from the board also is carried over into that work group. Correct, Mike?
Yes. Yes.
When they have concerns, and all of that is carried from the board to the work group. So it's great to be involved in both processes.
Yes.
So I think next we're gonna always kind of like to talk about the responsibilities. So what's supposed to be done in that office or with those people. So for the local work group, some of their responsibilities are to obtain community and stakeholder participation, right? You are the community. Identify program funding needs, identify priority natural resource concerns, set local priorities based on public inputs and resource needs. That's you all again. We need your input. Recommend eligible practices, recommend payment and cost share levels. They identify educational assistance needs, establish program delivery priorities. As you see, they do a lot of things that are definitely pertinent to a producer in their operation. So that's why it's so important for you to get involved. And again, those local work group meetings, the information is out there. Sometimes you have to search a little bit for it. But normally, if you call the office and ask them, they can get you on like an email list, and then they can start sending that information to you as far as when the meetings are. The meetings are different times. Sometimes they're in the evening, sometimes they're in the morning. That's again something that we're working on to make sure that those meetings are more inclusive at a time where everyone can attend. So definitely something we're working on, but just please keep a lookout and definitely get in touch with your conservation district to get that information. Do you have anything to add here, Mike?
I do not. You did a great job.
Thank you. All right. So, our main thing, we're here from, we're giving you kind of like the national perspective, but we're here to tell you that, don't get left out of the climate conversation. There's a lot happening right now. There's a lot of resources that have been dispersed, right, to producers, to producer organizations. And we just want to make sure that you're just a part of, about everything. There's a lot of decisions being made, a lot happening, and you being involved with your conservation district and work group is going to help you to kind of know what's going on and what's coming down the pipeline, so that you'll know where you need to position yourself. We want you to be involved and be informed. That's the only way you're going to know about these various, programs, initiatives, resources, all of those things, is by being a part. And I'll pass it over to Mike. I think he might want to add to that.
Okay. One of the things I want to talk about is, if you listen to the news, if you listen to people, you're starting to hear the word climate. And there's a lot of money. There's a lot of conversations, okay, going on about climate. And I believe small farms, I believe urban farms. Now I'm speaking for me. Okay, I'm not speaking for the USDA. Okay, so let me say that right now. But, we have to get you guys to the table. We have to get you talking. And right now, none of these decisions are being made, but they're talking. And they're talking about climate smart and how to get, how do we get carbon out of the atmosphere? Well, the big farmers are talking about it as we speak right now. Okay. And I believe a lot of small farms are sleeping. We're sleeping at the table, and we don't even know that these conversations are going on. Okay. And, when I sit here and say this, I don't have not one answer for you, because we're in the infancy of this whole conversation. Okay, but these conversations are happening in big ag, the Cargills, the General Mills, they're jumping on this. Okay, the Walmarts, the big ag groups and big buyers are jumping on it. But how do we, and when I say we, I'm talking about you, how do you get involved? You got to talk about it. You got to say, how can we get involved and what's in it for us? Okay. Don't get the crumbs that's left over. Get the crust. Okay. I think it's really important, and I'm gonna give you a perfect example. Right now, in the Midwest, in the upper Midwest, some of the climate smart stuff is they get farmers to plant cover crops, okay, that will take some of the carbon out of the atmosphere. And you got companies like Walmart and Target that are paying these farmers to do this, to plant this stuff. So they're making money by doing this. Okay. Well, in my mind, don't know how it will work, but that's why I said we've got to get in the conversation. Okay. How do we get the small 40-acre and less, 60-acre and less, 5-acre or less, 10-acre or less farms that how do we get them involved where they might be the gatekeeper, where they have to partner, or those big farms out in the West may have to partner with some of the smaller farms in urban areas. And they partner together and both make out or both get something out of it. Okay. I don't know. That's me just throwing something out there that may stick on the wall. It may not stick on the wall. But if we don't get involved and have these kind of conversations, we're going to get left out. Drone technology. I literally just had a conversation talking about climate, talking about new technology. Okay. Right now, NRCS, we're not doing it yet, but we should be able to start paying for drones. And those drones will go out in these big farms, small farms, whatever, and spray. Well, can we do that same thing with a small high tunnel and put a drone in a high tunnel and save you on labor to go? That drone is in that high tunnel and spraying for weeds, spraying for pesticides. How can it help you with your process? Same thing, irrigation system, a smarter irrigation system. So we got to get, this is all part of that whole climate conversation, and we've got to get involved and get active on it. And with that, I'm going to throw it back over to you, Dr. Staley. Hopefully I touched on some stuff and sparked a conversation. I see a couple of Q&A questions. So, but I'm hoping to spark a conversation with everyone out here and get them talking. So Dr. Staley, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I say we can go ahead and answer some questions now, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Okay.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for that insightful conversation. So we're gonna go ahead and open the floor for questions. Miss Anita Robertson, she did have one about asking how are conservation district board meetings announced. Mr. Watson, I think you touched on that briefly during the presentation. She did ask another question. She says, what is the best way to run successfully for board positions? We have had the same group seating in these positions since I began farming. Any suggestions?
You know what? Yes, I have several suggestions for you. You know what? First of all, my first suggestion is just start going to some of the meetings. They're open meetings. They're open to the public. Just go and just listen. Just listen, just listen, just listen. And sooner or later, they're going to pull you in. That's the first one. The second one is if you want to run and you want to run, just like any election, you've got to get out in your community and get people voting. And trust me on this one. A whole lot of people don't vote for the Soil and Water Conservation District Board. So if you can get as many people as you can to vote for you, there's a high probability that you will get in. I'm not supposed to get into the whole election part of it, because I'm not biased and I can't be biased on this, but getting active and getting people involved. But when I tell you, if you just get involved with the Soil and Water Conservation District, just go to the meetings, just listen. You'll be surprised how all of a sudden some of those appointed seats may come to you, and just listen. Just listen. The first year, just listen. Don't say a whole lot. Just listen. And that's what I would suggest. Hopefully I've answered your question.
I definitely agree with that. The first part is just going into the office. I don't know if the person who asked the question, if they've already gotten involved with their soil and water conservation district. I don't know if they have, and I don't know if they can respond to that or not, but definitely taking that first step and going into the office and getting in on the programs and all of that is definitely key.
Thank you so much. We do have another question. They said, can you elaborate on the changes being made to address the concerns of urban producers?
Okay, I can speak on that one. NRCS, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, I'm trying not to speak in acronyms, has put a group together across the nation, and every state also has groups together to talk about some of the urban issues. And the Secretary of Agriculture and the chief of NRCS have hired an urban manager or urban associate chief program manager to try to address urban issues. And is it perfect? No, but we are moving forward, and they are putting stuff together. And as you will see in the next year, 2025, you'll see some more urban stuff added to our cost share list. And 2026, so every year it's going to be a building situation. So right now, I know that there's a very active process of trying to be more inclusive, and NRCS and some of your major cities, Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York City, Atlanta, Georgia, Chicago, Indianapolis, Dallas, Texas, Houston. We have hired urban specialists for some of these bigger cities, and voice your concerns. You have to speak up, and that's the one thing I'm gonna say. Closed mouth doesn't get fed. So the more you speak and the more you say it, not in an aggressive way, but just letting people know. And as you go to meetings, let their managers know. Tell them your needs. Tell them what you need, and it may not happen overnight, but it will happen. Change is inevitable, and I've seen the changes coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. We do have another question. It says, are there any real-time grant opportunities for innovative and creative solutions based on initiatives? For example, for our PowerPod solar roof farming system, or for our hemp processing, manufacturing, and training facility?
Well, I just wanted to, okay. So talk a little bit about a soil and water conservation district. So the NACD, we actually we fund the soil and water conservation districts to apply for various opportunities on behalf of the farmer. So that's another reason that you would need to get involved. Right now, we are, I guess, doing a lot more with our grants program, because now we're able to put those funds into the hands of producers, as opposed to you having to go through a soil and water conservation district, even though they have to partner with you to help you assist you in that work. But that's some of the things that we do. So right now we did some funding for perimeter fencing. We did some funding for, education programs for historically underserved producers. So, but we have more things are coming down the pipeline. I don't think we have anything that quite fits what you're talking about, but maybe NRCS does. I'll pass that over to Mike.
Okay, so you see me laughing and smiling because rooftop right now under the Farm Bill, and that's what Congress passes every 5 years, we cannot do rooftop farming. There's some states that are doing it, but there's not a lot of, we're still learning. And I do believe you'll start seeing some of that in the next farm bill. But right now, there's not a lot of rooftop farming going on, or assistance going on within NRCS nationwide. We're trying to work through that. That is an issue. We do know it's an issue, but we are trying to work with that, with the rooftop farming. On the hemp side of it, you also see me laughing and smiling on that one. Uh, every state is different, and we can work with hemp farms if it's legal in the state. Okay, so I want to put an asterisk on it because it's not legal everywhere. And so we can work with them if it's legal, but we are the federal government. And it's a real fine line for us. Okay, so we're walking a fine line because we're federal, and though a state may approve it on the hemp side of it, the USDA is on the federal side, and it has not been approved on the federal side. So it's a real fine line with NRCS on working with hemp, and you're going to find it's going to be all over the place. Okay. You may get one office. If the Soil and Water District is for it, we're going to look at the resource concerns, the erosion, the issues out there, the water issues, and we're not looking at the plants. Now, same voice, could be same office, okay, and they may get scared, okay, because of the hemp and because it's federal monies. So you're going to see the whole spectrum. I know I'm waffling on you, and I know I'm all over the place, but I want to be straightforward about it and say it's such a fine line for us on that one. And there's really no defined answer for the USDA, NRCS, and the Soil and Water Districts right now. And we're trying to work through it. So that's why you saw me laughing, because everything in me wanted not to answer that question, but I'm never going to run from a question. So I wanted to try.
Thank you. And Miss Anita, she did respond to your statement, Dr. Staley, in regards to trying to participate on the board meetings. She says, yes, I have been involved and volunteered with them. So if she has done that, like, what would be the next steps for her?
Let's see if she could, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dr.
Oh, and I
Staley.
was going to actually see if she could actually maybe send me her email address, and I could have a conversation with her. We can talk more about it offline. That would be great.
Okay, awesome.
Do you want to add to that, Mike? I mean, if you have some
And
things.
that's what I was getting ready to say. Somebody else said something about any kind of grants. NRCS has what we call our CIG, Conservation Innovation Grants. Every state has them. Okay, that is a grant for people who want to try something new and willing to try it and write a paper at the end to say how it works. So, we do have what is called the CIG, Conservation Innovation Grants. And I want to make sure to throw that one out there too, and say that is a way that if you have something new that we're not doing, that you may approach it, and it's a process. So there's nothing that, when you're working with the federal government, I want to be upfront with y'all, there's nothing easy and it's nothing fast about it. Okay, so if you're looking for something, like if you're going to get off the computer today and call your office, say, I was told I can get a CIG grant, you'll be lucky if you get it by next year, because basically the money spent for this year and our budget years is October to October. So it's going to be next year sometime. So I just always want to be upfront with people on that whenever we start talking about grants. And for every action, there's a reaction. We just don't give money for you to go have a good time. We're expecting something back. Okay, so even in our cost share, you know, we're expecting you to do it, and we're expecting you to do it to our specs and our protocol. So I just always want to be upfront with people so people know what they're working with when you're working with the federal government.
Thank you, Mr. Watson, and we appreciate that honesty. We have another question. This one's kind of long, so just bear with me. It says, I'm involved in small farm outreach and work to bridge resources for historically underserved producers. When my farmers attempt to apply for programs, I have to do the research on what codes are applied to what practices, but I have yet to find a detailed description of the practices. Usually the NRCS agent that shows up doesn't know the codes, and we have to be informed in order to advocate for ourselves and comb through 55 pages of equip practices, for example. Any suggestions as to how to make accessing these resources more accessible to the public?
That's a good question. And I don't like to get stumped, but that's a good one. Okay. Take my email, Michael, MICHAEL .Watson, WATSON, the number 2 at USDA.gov. And if we could put that in the chat, you know, so people can get it, it's Michael.Watson, the number 2 at USDA.gov. I'd like to talk to you and try to figure out how I can help you on that one. The information's out there, but I don't know how to answer that question right now. So I'd like to help you on that one, and try to see if I can get somebody in the state to help you too. And I do believe it's not as hard, but I'm on this side of it and not on your side. So I want to make sure that I provide you with what you need. Okay. And you shouldn't have to chase that rabbit either. So let me say that right now. That is not what you're supposed to do. That NRCS person should be able to help you with that. So that's why I want you to get in touch with me.
Okay. And I did put you and Dr. Staley's emails in the chat.
Thank you.
We're kind of running out of time, so we have time for one more question. Okay, it says, any recommendations for people looking to obtain farmland, hoping to build a sustainable community-based agroforestry project?
I can't help you with that one. Dr. Staley, I'm gonna drop that one on you. You might have an answer for that one.
Could you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry.
Let me see, let me pull it up. It says, any recommendations for people looking to obtain farmland, hoping to build a sustainable community-based agroforestry project?
Is it obtaining meaning to find farmland or to fund buying farmland? I just wanted to make sure
it doesn't specify.
Okay.
It could be either or. I will say I can probably touch on that a little bit. So what we do at Freedmen Heirs is, you know, we try to look for these resources, whether it's technical assistance or some type of funding that we could provide for the farmers. And a lot of that stuff we shared on social media, we shared in our digital magazine, because a lot of times, like you say, Dr. Staley and Mr. Watson, the information is out there. It's just the farmers just don't know about it. And so that's why we try to make the information as available to everyone as much as possible. So I encourage you all, please, if you haven't done so already, please follow us on social media. We could be found Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, using the @Freedmen Heirs Foundation name. If you just type in Freedmen Heirs Foundation, you'll find us. And also please subscribe to our digital magazine. because we have a lot of resources, whether it's upcoming events, webinars, in-person events, funding opportunities. I come across several funding opportunities. Our team comes across several opportunities, and we share this information with you all regularly and on a monthly cadence. So I hope that kind of answered your question. And yeah, we're kind of coming to the near of our hour. But I just want to take this opportunity, Dr. Staley and Mr. Watson, to thank you for joining us today. I really appreciated the conversation, and I'm more than sure that our attendees did as well. So thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today, this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you for the
Thank
opportunity.
you so much. Yes, and if you all have any questions, you have our email addresses. If there's something that wasn't addressed here on this webinar, please feel free to email us, contact us so that we can, help you in any way that we can. But we're just so grateful to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. All righty. I do want to announce that we do have another webinar coming up next month. It's called Plowing Forward, Harvesting Heritage and Leveraging Cultural Marketing, Magic, and Innovation. And our guest speaker for that webinar is Dr. Veronica Womack, who is the founder of the Black Farmer Network. So that's another conversation we're looking forward to having. And so, yeah, I just want to say thank you all to our guests. Thank you to our speakers. If you don't mind, at the end of this webinar, there is a post-webinar survey. So if you can please fill that out. If you don't mind, I really appreciate it. We always love the feedback that we get from everyone so that we can learn how to make these webinars a little better for our viewers. So if there's nothing further, thank you so much again, Dr. Staley and Mr. Watson. Are there any other comments you'd like to share with the audience?
The comment I want to make is thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to let both of us come on board and speak. It takes organizations like yours to get the word out, and hopefully we've answered a lot of questions and sparked interest. And I really, to you and everybody on your staff, I want to say thank you on behalf of Dr. Staley once again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate your time.
All righty. Well, if there's nothing further, thank you all, everyone. And we hope you enjoyed today's session. We hope that you can attend our future sessions and take care. Bye-bye.